Thanks very much, Eric, for that very stimulating talk to remind us that we need to focus not so much on the technology, but what we do with it, okay, in our practices. We have, I know a lot of you have to go absolutely at 2, so we have time for a few questions. We have 8 minutes. Nancy.
Well, I want to ask the first, well, in fact, thank you very much for the very stimulating talk, and it's very, now, when you started with talking about changing, I mean, the changes were very incredible, let's say. People going onto the moon, these war machines becoming, you know, what we have here were, you know, buildings of computers could be. But at the same time, when we think about how people conceptualize education, what change it can make, it seems to be going in the other way. In the 50s, when people first started having the computers in the university laboratories, some university professors were predicting that computers are going to change the whole of education. I think was it in the 90s? Larry Cuban said, well, he wrote a book called Oversold and Underused that was to talk about computers. Last year, Alan Collins and Richard Haverson, they published a book. Title was the Rethinking Education in the Age of Technology. Okay, so and what that book was? Well, Larry Cuban was saying basically computers are making no impact on education. Haverson and Collins' book was basically saying that yes, computers have a lot of potential to impact education, but the prediction he makes is that it will not make any, well, first of all, he said here, it basically, the impact is still 0 in schools. And the prediction is that it will not really make any impact in publicly funded schools, in formal schooling institutions. So, and then you would, some of the conditions that you put forward were things like, say, why people were, well, why technology may not have a made impact, technophobia. Well, we are not phobic. And the technology is getting more and more user-friendly, more and more easy. Resources is getting much more available. Institutions, well, there is a lot of pressure from everywhere for institutions to change, and we have so many reforms going on. So it seems to be very contradictory. And as a CEO of a formal educational establishment, I'm just wondering how you look at such you know, contradictory trends, and what's your prediction of whether, say, technology would really make an impact on education in an institution like the IB?
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you, Nancy. I think, first of all, I mentioned that the Z generation, right, eventually will be in position of power as well. And if you think about their perspective of the same question, I think they will look at things very differently. And you look at who drives education today and Minister of Education, they come from a generation that didn't go to school with technology. So their perspective of technology is very, very different. And their perspective of evolving this education in average is going to be very different, in my opinion, than what the Z generation will come up with in a few years. So to me, that's part of what will make a natural evolution, is by getting a completely new generation that really views technology completely different. But it's also by seeing successes from different institutions. I mean, there's amazing things being trialed around the world, and I'm thinking about this school in Game to Quest in New York, which is very new, but if we start seeing some amazing results after 5-6 years of such schools, it will start to have influence on other school systems, and where people will start trialing more of these things. And it's potentially, you know, from people talking around, trialing things. I think there's a lot of great things being trialed, but nothing big enough yet to show that it's making big results. But it just takes one country to really make it work, that others will start deploying it, because every countries want to change, want to have a better education system. I mean, it's a problem, it's a huge issue in the US, it's a huge issue in many, many countries where the dropout of schools rate is going up in many, many countries. You look at the US, the results on reading and writing hasn't evolved in 20 years. I think it's even digressed a little bit, which is something fundamentally wrong. But I agree, it's tricky. It's very, very difficult to change, and I agree that today, when the statistics show that education is the lowest in all industry in the US of using IT, that goes back to the point that IT or technology has had almost zero impact in schools today. And I think to me, if I look at maybe I'll take another, I like looking at the world from 10,000 feet. And if you look at how education happened, again, that's just my perspective. I mean, I could be wrong, but my view is the way things have happened in history is missionaries were going around the world and pushing religions where, you are teaching one way kind of approach. There's someone in front that tells you exactly what's right, what's wrong, and there's no debate, which was kind of the approach, hundreds of years ago of how around the world European colonies were being taught how to think the right way. And to a certain degree, education has evolved a lot using the similar approaches where it's not rethinking the model of how, because if you look at how usually people would learn, and if you go back even in historic time, like 10,000 years ago, if a hunter wanted to teach his son how to hunt, he would actually bring him with him, and the son would have a little bow and arrow and practice and have fun on little animals and looking at the father participating to the event, to be part of it, to be playing around it, and often learning was being done this way, was not sitting down and just listening to someone that tells the person what to do. And to me, that's just a human nature. We're built to learn this way. That's my view. And I think the way our education system has evolved is not human nature. And I think what technology is making happen is, because it's so easy now, it's going back to the root of human nature, which is this collaboration, this working together. That's what we're made for. And technology now brings it to a completely different level, because now kids can collaborate in a way that's never been seen before, because they have machines in their hand that creates this collaboration. This will have an impact on education. I cannot see that it will not. It's just a matter of time, but you're right, it's slow, it's difficult. How do we get it done, right? And hopefully, I mean, things will start to happen. Personally,
and will it be school? Will it be school? I think that was the question also. I mean, Stephen Hackle talked about not school. He created not schools, right? And Collins and Halverson was putting up this claim that probably technology would be making impact in non-school establishments or people doing it by themselves. So that was the...
Yeah. Correct. I mean, you could end up with a view that suddenly kids that don't go to schools are learning in a completely different way and scoring better than when they're at schools. I mean, if someone really cracked the nuts properly, I mean, it will really happen in my view, but it will take time.
Yeah.